Welcome along to Snetterton, everybody. We've got round 14 of the 2023 Woods Food Services Porsche Club Championship Boxster Cup coming up for you shortly. This is the penultimate round of the 2023 championship season. Whilst the championship has already been sorted in favour of John Lovell, who is the man who starts from pole position, and it certainly looks as though second place mathematically is more than heading the way of the man who will line up alongside him on the grid, Mike Thompson. Who's going to finish third, fourth, fifth, sixth in the championship is still very much up for debate. And we will find out over the course of this race and the other race that's coming up later on today for you as to who might finish on the third step of the championship podium for 2023. So we've got beautiful sunny weather here in Norfolk. Nice that we haven't, as we head in towards autumn, got rain, but it is quite breezy. There's a strong headwind as the cars head up the start-finish line, which is the Senna straight, and that means that as they head along the Bentley straight, which brings them down towards the bottom section of the circuit, they'll be getting a tailwind, so it will affect the cars. That is without question. The cars then head off on their formation lap. The times for this grid are based on the fastest times from qualifying. Their second fastest times will dictate how the cars form up for the race later on today, the final race of the championship season. So as they work their way around the circuit on their Control Pirelli tyres that they all run, we should hopefully very shortly be able to guide you through the grid then in the way that they line up for this penultimate race of the 2023 championship season. So it is Jonathan Lovell who secured the championship already, who lines up on pole position alongside Mike Thompson. Those have been the two drivers to beat in the series this year. Sarah Thompson is there on row number 2, and alongside her is Faye Noble-Evans. We head on to the third row of the grid, and on the inside of the third row of the grid it's Wayne Gregory, and he's got Jessica Wilson for company. And on to the next row, which is row number 4, it's Perry Darling and Eric Bridges that line up there on row number 4. The fifth row of the grid is comprised on the inside by Ashley White, and alongside him is going to be Craig Horvath. And then the next row of the grid is where we see Sarah Wood lining up alongside Will Toon, and then it's Phil Graham who is next up. They're in 12th position. Horvath, by the look of things, has been dropped to 13th on the grid. Must have been a grid penalty there. And we've also got Tony Levy at the tail end of the field as well. So that's the way that they line up. 14 cars from qualifying. Craig Horvath did actually qualify 10th quickest, but there must have been an amended grid that was issued subsequently after the qualifying times were issued, and therefore he's been placed further down through the order. So Jonathan Lovell will look to see if he can cap off the season in fine style. He has already claimed plenty of wins so far this season. He took a win at Donington Park in round 2 of the championship. He won both of the races at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. Anglesey, he claimed 2 wins there. He won at Alton Park. He won one of the 2 races at Silverstone, and then he also won 3 races last time out at Brands Hatch, which also included a carryover race from Alton Park that we didn't actually do at Alton. It was carried over to Brands Hatch because of time constraints that weekend. So 10 race wins for John Lovell so far this season. He's already mathematically wrapped up the championship. His worst finish this year is 3rd. 10 wins, a 2nd and a 3rd place out of all the racing we've had so far. So he has been Mr. Consistent, and it is consistency that wins you championships. So he'll be hoping that he can finish off the season the way he has really completed all of it. So lots of weaving being done from side to side to try and build as much temperature into the Control Pirelli tyres that they can all utilise, build those brake temperatures up as well. And as they head down towards the completion of this formation lap, Jonathan Lovell in the silver car starting on pole position, the red, that's white and black car, largely white and black but with the red flashes to it, of Mike Thompson that sits alongside. Then it's Sarah Thompson, she's in the yellow and red car, and alongside her is Faye Noble-Evans, which is always easy to pick out Faye Noble-Evans because it's a fantastic livery. It's black with sort of the pink flashes to the side of it. Wayne Gregory's car on the third row of the grid is blue with gold, and then it's Jessica Wilkinson, who is largely silver, but it's got that fabulous, almost rainbow stripe down the centre of it, but it's pink, purple, yellow, orange, all the way down through the centre of it. So they're just heading around through the bomb hole and up towards the ever-sweeping right-hander at Corham, which is the penultimate corner here on the Silverstone 300 circuit, all 2.9689 miles of it. But it is a tricky corner. It might just continually sweep right, but the problem is it keeps sweeping right, and then you need to be on the brakes whilst you're rotating the car to the right still, and get on the brakes ready to turn left in towards Murray. So it does mean that the car is always quite unsettled, and of course in these rear-engined cars as well, with all of that weight hanging over the back axle, it does make the car very lively, very interesting round through that section of the circuit. So tail end of the field, there is Tony Levy's car. And at the front of the field, we're almost going to see the pole sitter line up on pole position. It's a headwind up towards Ritchie's, so a good start when the lights go out will be critical to try and see as to who might be leading when they head up in towards the first right-hander. So front couple of rows of the grid have come into position. 25-minute race. Row 3's come into position, row 4 coming into position. We can see at the tail end of the field there, Tony Levy ready to head into position as well. And I think we are pretty much ready to go then. So green flag should wave at the tail end of the field. The 5-second board will be held aloft, and then the red lights will come on the Grand Prix. And for the 14th time this year, we will get the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Motorsport Boxster Cup underway here at Snetterton. There's the 5-second board being held aloft now. So the red lights will come on any moment, and then we'll get our penultimate race of the 2023 season underway. Red lights go out now. Better start from the outside of the front row of the grid from Mike Thompson, who got a jump on Jonathan Lovell there and is already through and up into the lead of the race even before they head up towards Ritchie's corner. At the tail end of the field, one car clearly picking up a 10-second penalty. But it is going to be Mike Thompson that leads the way from Jonathan Lovell in second place, and Sarah Thompson and Faye Noble-Evans were side by side for third and for fourth position as they headed round through Ritchie's. They both bake as late as they possibly can, and you can see just how close it is as they turn their way through the Wilson hairpin for the first time, and then get back on the throttle nice and early and head up towards the left-hander at Palmer. So Mike Thompson leading the way, but not by much from Jonathan Lovell, who has done all of the winning, bar 2 rounds so far this year, along the short straight and up towards the braking area for Agostini for the first time. And as they then head onto the brakes through Agostini, they'll pick their way down the short straight that brings them up towards the kink at Hamilton. Difficult corner, can't afford to run wide there because you need to carry good speed up towards Oggies, and Oggies is quite a critical corner really. Easy to run wide on the exit and then compromise your speed up towards the next corner. There's a lightest touch there between the pair of them. Jonathan Lovell just very lightly touched the tail end of Mike Thompson's car. Faye Noble-Evans sitting there in third position. It's Sarah Thompson that's there in fourth place currently as they start to stretch their legs out of Williams. Very important corner and onto the Bentley Straight, and this is where they've got the tailwind all the way down the Bentley Straight this weekend. You've got the tailwind, speeds build, and then in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson. Again, a very difficult braking area where you're trying to turn the car and get on the brakes at the same time. But Mike Thompson leading the way, Jonathan Lovell in second position. Mike Thompson so far this season has claimed just one win. That was at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit. He's had plenty of seconds and plenty of thirds. He'd desperately like to try and scoop up another win if he possibly could. But Jonathan Lovell will have other ideas about it. You can see the pressure he's applying as they turn their way through Coram and in towards the braking area for Murray's for the first time. So lap 1 about to be completed. Mike Thompson leading the way, but feeling the pinch from the 2023 champion of Jonathan Lovell, who sits behind. Over the start-finish line. Lap number 1 completed. Jonathan Lovell trying to draw himself alongside, but he's not going to be able to do it. You can just see that slight dint in the front bumper on the front right-hand side of Jonathan Lovell's car, which was where he made that light contact with Mike Thompson. Jonathan Lovell runs very, very wide, coming out of Ritchie's corner, did the right thing, didn't try and overcorrect the car running wide too quickly. Otherwise, that could have very quickly snapped and spat him in the barrier. So good driving from Jonathan Lovell. Brilliant squabbles going on further down through the order as well. That's number 81, Perry Darling. He is fighting away with Wayne Gregory, and right behind Wayne Gregory, that looks as though it's Ashley White that was there as well. So that's a good little fight that's going on between those three. But as they head through the left-hander at Palmer and start to head on towards the straight that will bring them down towards Agostini, Mike Thompson still leading the way, but still feeling the pressure from Jonathan Lovell that sits behind. So Mike Thompson desperate to try and scoop up win number 2 of the championship season. Here's that squabble that I was talking about, which includes Perry Darling, Wayne Gregory, and then the number 46 car that sits behind, which is Ashley White. All of them together, all of them still busy squabbling over what is going to be 5th, 6th and 7th places. And joining me in the commentary box, Piers Pryor. Piers, great to see that we're heading towards the end of another championship season. Shame we've already got this championship sorted out for the Boxster Cup, but we still need to sort out who's going to finish 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th in the championship. So it's still important racing.
Yeah, it's important to all of the drivers themselves, of course, because as much as if you can't fight for the championship title, you'll still fight hammer and tongs right to the end of the season for every point that you can get, and you can see the drivers still pushing on here.
And that's Wayne Gregory, who's giving Perry Darling a thing or two to think about. They are slowly edging up onto the coattails of Sarah Thompson as well, as we go back to the battle for the lead of the race. 20 minutes still remain, so we've only just had the first fifth of the race so far. Mike Thompson still hanging on to the lead of the race from Jonathan Lovell. Nothing to choose between the pair of them. I was saying earlier on, Jonathan Lovell, he might be second here, but there's only twice this year he hasn't finished on the top step of the podium. He's been so consistent in the Werris wins. Yeah,
that is imperious, form. If you can go through a season, almost Max Verstappen-esque, but this looks like that a move is a when, not an if. Potentially even this lap, no, not down into the Wilson hairpin.
Yeah, there's already been a light touch between the pair of them. That's why you can see a slight dint to the front right-hand corner of Jonathan Lovell's bumper. That was just the lightest of touches, but it was Mike Thompson that got the lead when the lights went out and got the jump from the outside of the front row of the grid, and for the moment he hasn't put a wheel wrong. So out of the left-hander at Palmer, down the straight that brings them in towards the braking area for Agostini, they will go. Faye Noble-Evans now very much on her own in 3rd position, the black car with the pink flashes. You can see nobody really to play with, and evermore Sarah Thompson in 4th place is dropping into the clutches of the likes of Perry Darling, Wayne Gregory and then Ashley White as well. So that's almost like a 4-car battle there for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th places.
Yeah, you've got a nice little battle forming there, but we're still looking at the battle for the lead, which it looks very very tame for now. I mean, you've mentioned that bump they had earlier on in the race, but it's sort of settled down slightly, but it's coming down and down the last lap around. Lovell set purple sector in sector 2 and sector 3, and then was faster in sector 1. Oh no, actually wasn't slightly, but not much different. You can see that gap is, only a couple of car lengths, and it will feel smaller in the car than it looks even on the screen.
I mean, Jonathan Lovell's sitting in the tow as they come along the Bentley Straight, but because it's a tailwind this weekend, how much is that tow going to work, do you think?
Well, the tow will definitely still be present. I don't think it's hugely powerful in these Porsches because, of course, they haven't got big wings and they're quite aerodynamic themselves. Oh, we've got someone stopped. That's looks like right rear suspension damage and somewhat dejected bodywork. Not bodywork. Dejected body language.
Yeah, that's Ashley White that's out of the car and kicks the rear wheel. Toe link that's gone on that car by the look of things. So that is him out of the race, I'm afraid. And for the lead of the race, all of a sudden Mike Thompson, who half a lap ago looked as though he was getting away from Jonathan Lovell, all of a sudden they get to Murray's and Jonathan Lovell is right with him again.
It's quite interesting to see the gap ebb and flow slightly, because I thought for a second that Lovell had sort of dropped off the back going into Brendel and Nelson, and now they're right together once again, and potentially if he gets a good exit out of turn 1, might even be in with a shout of making a move. That is a good exit out of turn 1, actually using all of the road. Is this going to be a first proper look at a move in a few laps? Not quite this time. Defensive goes Thompson.
Yeah, understandably so. Mike Thompson saw what was coming up.
How close.
Made sure he just covered off Jonathan Lovell. It was rather close, wasn't it? Jonathan Lovell's already had one big moment. It was before you joined me in the commentary box. One big moment coming out of Ritchie's where he was all over the grass and did the sensible thing of didn't try and correct the issue too quickly, just slowly plopped his way back onto the grass. So as they head down the straight and in towards the braking area for Agostini, he again is just weaving around, anything to try and distract Mike Thompson, and he might just about be able to prise the door open. If he can get the overlap coming out, Piers, he'll have the inside line for Hamilton.
More contact side by side. They're still touching and they're squeezing is Thompson, but no, Lovell is alongside and has got the move done.
Yeah, you said the move was coming, and I just didn't expect it to come as quickly, because now that he's taken up the lead of the race, Jonathan Lovell A will want to pull away, but B, Mike Thompson will want to try and stick with him, because there's still 17 minutes of the race to go.
Yep, 17 minutes of fighting left to go. Hopefully Thompson can retaliate, because this has been a good battle so far. Both cars are going to have some paint from the other vehicle on their own, because they're quite literally paint rubbing or paint swapping.
But good fair racing still. And now again we've got them side by side, and Mike Thompson has got a much better run coming down the Bentley Straight. He'll have the inside line for Brundle. Can he make it stick? Well, he'll now have the outside line for Nelson. So Jonathan Lovell is still going to hang on to the lead. He runs a little bit wide though. Does he compromise his exit too much? No, he doesn't. By the skin of his teeth, he hangs on to the lead. Yeah,
that was a good move up the inside, but they couldn't quite make it stick, and that's the tricky thing with Brundle and Nelson, is it goes one side to the other, and it's almost like, well, which way do I go? Because if you're on the left-hand side going down the straight, you need to get the head all completely completely ahead before the right of Nelson, but you can also go around the outside of Brundle, which was on the inside of Nelson, so it's a bit of a to and fro there, but it does look like Thompson has a slight straight line speed advantage down that back straight over Lovell.
Now, this time as they head down the Senna straight, there's a bit of daylight between Jonathan Lovell in the lead of the race and Mike Thompson that sits behind, and that's because I think through the bomb hole and Coram that was where Mike Thompson just lost a little bit of time there. Faye Noble-Evans in the number 20 car, that fantastic livery I was talking about with the skull emblazoned on the side of it, still sits there in third place and is fairly safely in third at the moment. She might be 5 seconds adrift of the pair ahead, but she's got 3 seconds in hand from those behind. However, running wide like that and not making friends with the apex at Wilson, if she keeps doing that, they'll soon be with her.
Yeah, she's pushing on clearly. You can see the front right or front inside wheel slightly under rotating, but the battle between the 53 of Gregory, is that Bridges as well? No, that must be the 81 of Darling. That battle's still raging on.
Yeah, that's Perry Darling and Wayne Bridges, and Perry Darling hugging the curbs on the inside. Wayne Bridges at the wheel of the Woods Food Services backed machine, which also is title sponsor for the Boxster Cup for this year, trying anything to prise the door open and hoist himself up into what is going to be 6th position, but he can't quite do it as yet. No, he's sitting there in 6th. He's trying to work his way through into 5th position, but can't quite muster it as yet. And now that those two have been battling, Piers, all of a sudden the yellow car that they were slowly reeling in, Sarah Thompson, has just edged away.
That's the way it works, isn't it, Mark? You know, sometimes you need to just hold station to get maybe 2 places, but as soon as you start defending or battling for position, it definitely loses you time. And I think the gap at the front of the field for Lovell and Thompson is probably just big enough that battle is not going to be reeled in by Faye Noble-Evans. But this battle here is definitely being affected. Always, that battle at the front is still going on, so, you know, maybe I've spoken too soon.
He's like a dog with his favourite toy, isn't he, Mike Thompson? He's just not going to let go of the tail end of Jonathan Lovell at the moment. So, again, they were together as they got down towards the bottom of the Bentley straight. They are still together as they exit the bomb hole, then through the sweeping right-hander at Coram, which I was saying earlier on, it's a difficult corner, Coram, but when you've got a rear-engined car with all that weight over the back axle as well, it must be very difficult round through there.
Oh, it's so difficult, because the tricky thing about Coram is it goes on for so long, so you have to be on the limit of grip for that amount of time. And you mentioned with the weight of the rear of these Porsche Boxsters, you've got that pendulum effect, especially when you then think you have to turn while accelerating, then gradually slow down, apply the brakes. We've got to move for the lead once again, Mark.
Yeah, we have Mike Thompson, great move up the inside of Jonathan Lovell, retakes the lead of the race, brilliant stuff. There was also a black and white warning flag being held out over the start-finish line for Jonathan Lovell, car number 21, for transgressing the circuit limit, so needs to be careful. If he runs wide again beyond the white lines or the red and white curbs, that would no longer be a warning, that would be a 5-second penalty for him, which means that, yeah, all of a sudden that would play beautifully into the hands of Mike Thompson. But the battle for the moment is still on, and last time through, Mike Thompson set the fastest lap of the race we've seen, 2 minutes 13.996.
Yeah, I was just talking about Coram, and I was actually going to mention that I noticed that the lap previous, Lovell, for the first time I've seen from that camera shot, turned into Coram without braking. So they're clearly pushing on and pushing on. Tyres are coming towards them, getting more and more confidence, and the lap times are reflecting that. But this, you mentioned dog with a bone. Well, this is turning into a proper dog fight now.
It is, yeah. However, it is Mike Thompson now who is the man who is trying to fend off the aspirations of the 2023 champion of Jonathan Lovell, who dives to the inside, heading in towards Oggies, comes from a fairway back. He misses the apex a little bit, and straight away Mike Thompson is there, reasserts himself back into the lead. But critical corner coming up, Williams, because you carry all of that speed down the Bentley straight.
Oh, that was an absolutely beautiful cutback manoeuvre from Thompson there. You saw there was no gap between the front bumper and the rear bumper of the cars.
That's Sarah Thompson, I'm afraid, who was running in 4th position, that's had a spin. So that means that Faye Noble-Evans now in 3rd place, has even more daylight between herself and the squabbling pack that sits behind. But the battle for the lead of the race, with less than half of the race to go now, because it's a 25-minute race, there's just 12 minutes to go, continues to rage. We're on lap number 6 at the moment, and it's still Mike Thompson and Jonathan Lovell who are at it again, as they have been really all season. And again, Jonathan Lovell trying to prise the door open, heading in towards Coram.
Yeah, it's quite a good tactic actually to go into Coram a little bit wider in rear-wheel drive cars like this, because it makes the first part of the corner a bit more open radius, so you can carry a bit more speed in, and it can sometimes lure the car behind into sticking their nose in, but ultimately the gap's always going to close, and all you're trying to do is set yourself up for a good exit out of the last corner and down. This is the start-finish straight. We saw a move last time by Thompson. Lovell can't repeat what was done to him the lap before.
No, so they still remain in the same order. Mike Thompson looking for win number 2 of the championship season. Jonathan Lovell looking for win number 11 of the championship season. And it's only round 14 as well, so you just go to show the level of consistency that Jonathan Lovell has had. But for Mike Thompson, he is the man who may well have finished up mathematically now second in this championship, but he'll want to finish with a strong weekend. So he picks his way through the left-hander at Palmer, and all of a sudden, just over the course of the last couple of corners, as Jonathan Lovell runs wide again, he'd already picked up a warning flag. That might be deemed now to be a 5-second penalty, but that's for the officials to worry about. But all of a sudden, Mike Thompson seems to have just edged away by an extra couple of Porsche lengths.
Yeah, you can see, I think Lovell's pushing extra hard. He's really hustling. You saw him through the Wilson hairpin. He was went a little bit deep, and then through the left-hander turn 3 went way wide onto the grass there. So knowing that gap is opening out, and also knowing that it looks like Thompson has a slight straight line speed advantage over Lovell from what we can see from the show, the pictures we're being shown. He's just trying to push extra hard in that middle sector to stay within touching distance, and again using all of the road and maybe a touch more on the exit. He's definitely going to be flirting with a penalty by the end of this race, I think.
It just makes me wonder, because Jonathan Lovell has raced so hard and so quickly all season, he's bound to have the fact that he's had 10 wins, a second and a third, and that is his championship season in a nutshell. But you only get 2 sets of tyres for the whole season. So on the basis of that he's been driving so hard and still overdrive, just makes me wonder now whether those fantastic Pirelli tyres are just dropping off a cliff a little bit.
Yeah, no matter how good the tyres are, and Pirelli's of course supply tyres to this championship, eventually they're going to get to a point where they wear away and you've got less grip.
Yeah, absolutely, and that may well be where he is at the moment. So the race still continuing, and Jonathan Lovell still pushing hard, but that's 2 times on that particular lap where he's run beyond the circuit limit. So I do believe, yes, and just confirmation on our screens now, a 5-second penalty for car number 25, Jonathan Lovell, for transgressing the circuit limit. So he might still be on the boot lid-ish of Mike Thompson, but on corrected times, in reality, is a 5-second gap between them now.
Yeah, a good demonstration of just, I think, when you get past, you can just begin to slightly overdrive to try and desperately claw in the driver ahead, and it's worked to a certain extent because he's now right on the back of Thompson once again, nearly running into, in fact, potentially touching the back of Thompson into the Wilson hairpin, but you just overdrive that much extra and you can pick up these track limit warnings and penalties, and ultimately it's going to be difficult for Lovell to get through and gain a 5-second gap over Thompson. Now I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that regardless of their finishing order, that Thompson is probably going to take this win, barring any unforeseen circumstances, trying not to give the commentators curse to Thompson.
No, let's hope not. Let's hope not, because we want to usher him towards win number 2 of the championship season, if at all we can. So yeah, Jonathan Lovell, 5-second penalty looming over him. When we say track limits, you can see there's a white line painted around the circuit, and if you go beyond that white line with any part of the tyre, as we go back to Perry Darling fighting away with Wayne Gregory, this is going to be for 4th and 5th position. Wayne Gregory's going to have the inside line as they head up towards Hamilton. Can he squeeze his way through? No. Perry Darling hangs on to it, so they don't shuffle the order in the end. No, so any part of the tyre that goes beyond the white line, that is a track limits warning. However, if there is a red and white painted curb beyond that white line, that red and white painted curb becomes part of the racetrack. So again, you can put your tyre up to the edge of it, but you can't go beyond it.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's the outside edge of the tyre, which was a slight amendment in the middle of this year. Previously, in the last few years, it's been the inside edge of the tyre, but it makes it easier to police for the stewards, as we see a back marker just getting out of the way nicely. That's good driving, staying out of the way of the leaders.
Yeah, it's Phil Graham that saw them coming and just moved neatly out of the way, blended off the throttle. Now, Jonathan Lovell, he's clearly still throwing caution to the wind, isn't he? He still thinks with 7 minutes to go, there's the opportunity to retake the lead. Whether he's actually seen the flag and the fact that he's got the 5-second penalty, only he will know, but it's not stopping from pushing as hard as he possibly can to see whether he can unlock the door and take the lead of the race. And then, of course, his task then with trying to scamper away, isn't he, from Mike Thompson?
Yeah, his task is to try and get that gap out, which will, as you mentioned, be a very tall order. But I think he just wants to win on the road, regardless of whether he's seen that penalty or not, because, I mean, one, they're having a great race. I mean, it has been a really, really good race at the front of the field. And he's looking at the inside and to the outside. Thompson, I must say, has been defending excellently. I haven't seen him make a single mistake.
No, not at all. And he's been defending. You know, you can only change position once to defend, and that's what he's been doing. He's been waiting, looking in the mirror for it. As soon as Jonathan Lovell changes the trajectory of the car to move to one side or the other, Mike Thompson has it covered off. So he's driving beautifully well. It's not as though he's weaving at all from side to side to try and defend, which you can't do.
No.
So they are now on lap number 9, heading up towards the braking area for the Agostini hairpin. This is the corner where Mike Thompson always seems to be a little bit slower through that part of the circuit than the car behind Jonathan Lovell.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably one of the characteristics of this championship that makes it quite interesting with the different, what do we call it, generations, evolutions of the Boxster. I think they're in running slightly different ages of vehicle, and they can race very, very closely, but the characteristics to get very, very similar lap times are different. It seems as if Thompson has a slightly higher top speed, but Lovell is very, very strong in that middle sector.
So let's just have a look. They head out of Williams now and onto the Bentley straight. Mike Thompson was just 0.3 of a second up the road from Jonathan Lovell, but remember, you've got to add another 5 seconds to Jonathan Lovell's race time in reality. In a straight line, has Jonathan Lovell gained anything down the Bentley straight? To the naked eye, if he has, it wouldn't appear to be a great deal. Can he stay within the confines of the circuit this time as they weave their way through? Nelson, he leaps over the sausage curb on the inside and just stays within the confines of the circuit through the Nelson. Then as they head round through the bomb hole, he is still pushing hard. Porsche's, the Porsche Boxster Cup in particular, is a great way to start racing. And I've just noticed Jonathan Lovell's car, if you want to start racing, is for sale at the moment, and clearly it's a competitive one because it is the championship winning car that sits there in second place.
Yeah, and he's pushing on. Very, very close once again. This is probably his best exit out of the last corner in the last few laps, so going to be applying the pressure. Probably not a turn 1, not a big braking zone, and not really an overtaking opportunity unless you're alongside, but definitely into that sort of turn 2 Wilson hairpin, as we've seen many times before. They've come to blows. They've traded paint there a number of times this race already.
Yeah, well, at the moment, Mike Thompson is going to pick up the extra championship point for the fastest lap of the race. Who is going to pick up the maximum points, which is 25 points for the win? Well, it's looking as though it is going the way of Mike Thompson. What's the gap between Jonathan Lovell and Fay Noble Evans? That's 12 seconds. So Jonathan Lovell, you know, he's only going to lose, you know, if he retakes the lead of the race, he would only go back to second anyway on corrected time. So he's fairly secure that he's going to scoop up either probably 21 points for second place.
Wide again on the exit of 3, so it could end up being a 10-second penalty if he keeps going the way he is. But that's not the only fight on circuit. We've still got the 125 and the number 5. Yeah,
that is Craig Horvath, who's busy squabbling away with 51, so that's Tony Levy. Craig Horvath, who says new to the championship. We've seen a fair chunk of Porsche Boxster Cup racing this season, but Craig Horvath is a name that's new to me for this weekend, and is certainly looking as though at the moment he's enjoying himself, because he's sitting there in 8th position, albeit firing one from a long, long way back up the inside. Went the car of Tony Levy. Thankfully, I think Craig Horvath saw him coming, otherwise that could have been a bit of a clatter between the two of them, but he came from a long, long way back, didn't get the car stopped, lost the position, and is now probably going to lose out to Will Toon as well, who's trying to draw himself alongside. More traffic for the race leaders to deal with. It's still Mike Thompson leading the way, but only just from Jonathan Lovell, and we enter the final, 2 3/4 minutes of the race now.
Final section of the race, a couple more laps. This battle down between the 51, Horvath and Levy, but that battle at the front is still going on. I mean, regardless of where they finish on the road, regardless of penalties at the front of the field, they're just probably quite enjoying this tussle. It's been quite the definition of a good, hard but fair race.
Absolutely, and for Mike Thompson, that is exactly what he'll want to do. However, there is now a further 5-second penalty going the way of Jonathan Lovell. That transgression that Piers Pryor picked up on beyond the track limits was picked up also by race control. So now it is a 10-second penalty that is being applied to the number 21 car. So that is going to drop Jonathan Lovell further back down through the order. Just notice, yeah, the big swirl marks down the side of his car. You can see how close that contact was between the pair of them. His wing mirror's folded in as well. There's that lint on the front bumper as he tries to turn the car in. Almost probably still on the brakes there, was he, Piers? Because the back end really started to come round. Yeah,
back end started to go around as he held the brakes into the corner, which keeps the weight on the front, causing that over. So that's the first bit of, or first small error in defence that I've seen Thompson make. He just went a little wide, didn't cost him this time, but clearly feeling the pressure. But Lovell needs to be careful with his track limits, because if he gets one more track limit warning, I think that then, is it goes to drive through, is it 15, 20
I
seconds?
think it's a drive-through penalty,
Yeah,
and then it becomes stop-go. And
yeah, because it escalates exponentially, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So if the 5-second penalty was fine, 10-second penalty still just fine with 14 seconds gap back to Faye Noble Evans in third place, but a drive-through, he would drop well down the order. You know, we're looking at 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that.
So you can see the marks, the Pirelli marks down the side of Jonathan Lovell's car as things have got so close throughout the course of this race, but it's been fair driving from them all the time. We're into the final 60 minutes of this race, so they'll still get over the start-finish line with time on the clock. So this is only the penultimate lap of the race, which is lap number 11. I think they'll have time to do another one after this one. Mike Thompson desperate to try and scoop up his second win of the championship season. We had 3 races last time out at Brands Hatch. Jonathan Lovell won every one of them. Who was second in each one? Mike Thompson.
They've been the class of the field, these two, for much of the year. Still fighting it out. Sometimes the gap at the front has been larger, but this has been one of the best, closest races we've had, or that we've commentated on at least, Mark, and it's still going down. It's going to be the penultimate time they go through this corner, around the outside of Coram, and then the inside of the last corner. What a move!
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Jonathan Lovell. I thought he was trying to tee that one up. Now, are they going to get over the start-finish line before the clock ticks to 0? I think they will just about do so. And as they head onto the centre straight, we've got 5 seconds, 4 seconds on the clock as they go over the start-finish line. So we've got another lap to enjoy this brilliant battle that we've had. And Mike Thompson isn't giving up just as yet. They both might be blissfully unaware that the number 21 car has that 10-second penalty, but it has been, either way, a great fight.
And it continues as well. I don't think Thompson's going to leave it there if anything that's happened in the race so far is able to be used as evidence. You can hear the tyres squawking in the background. They're pushing on, pushing hard. Last lap time was actually about 3 or 4 seconds off their best of the race, so the fighting is slowing them down somewhat, but no pressure from behind, so it is purely one-on-one for the victory.
And Mike Thompson had a better run coming out of Palmer, so will draw himself alongside, but on the outside line as they head down towards the braking area for the left-hander Agostini. In towards the left-hander, he might be able to cut back on the exit of the corner to see whether he can squeeze his way through. In the meantime, down at the bottom of the Bentley straight, we can see a fight going on as Will Toon has now managed to catch up with the car of Craig Horvath. But back to what's going on for the lead of the race. Jonathan Lovell still hanging on to it. Mike Thompson couldn't quite muster enough to take up the lead of the race. But then a big mistake coming out of Oggies, and straight away Jonathan Lovell is under pressure. Through goes Mike Thompson. Those tyres must be feeling second-hand. So you only get 2 sets for the whole season. Well, Jonathan Lovell has driven the wheels of them just in this race.
Yeah, he's got every penny's worth of use out of those tyres. You can see him squirming around. Easy to drop wide on the exit of Oggies there. And Thompson's fast down his back straight, so he should be safe into at least Brundle. Maybe Nelson's an overtaking opportunity. Close once again. These two on a number of occasions have been within 6 inches of each other. The last opportunity on the circuit really is the last corner, which we saw Lovell go around the outside of last time. I wonder what Thompson's going to do this time. Yeah,
well, let's have a quick look. We'll see a quick flash of the brake lights. There we go, as they just head round through Coram. Now, Mike Thompson will be quite wise here just to cover off anything on the inside line going in towards Murray's. And it looks as though this time, has he got it covered off? Jonathan Lovell is trying to prise the door open. There's almost contact. In fact, there is contact between the pair of them. Mike Thompson goes off the road. Jonathan Lovell is going to go through and pick up the lead of the race on the road. We know he's got a 10-second penalty hanging over him anyway, so Mike Thompson on corrected time should still pick up the win. But on the road, Jonathan Lovell wins with more damage now to that front corner of the car than there was earlier on. And Faye Noble Evans is not going to finish in third position because she has been picked off by Perry Darling on the final lap. So it's going to be Jonathan Lovell that claims the win on the road, but it's going to be Mike Thompson that picks it up on corrected time, so Lovell will finish second. Faye Noble Evans shown as finishing third. In fact, no, it's just come up now. Perry Darling does finish in third place. Faye Noble Evans in fourth. Wayne Gregory in 5th place, and completing the top 6 is going to be Sarah Thompson, who had a spin. So it is 2 wins this season for Mike Thompson. That was round 14 of the Woods Food Services Porsche Club Championship Boxster Cup. You can see the final round of this season around about 14:35-ish here at Snetterton. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you later on for the final race of the year. Goodbye.